If one is driving from south to north up the highway from Chimoio, this is the mission entrance, marked by a low bridge and a couple trees. This is the mission's entry gate. It's powered by solar panel and provides better security, especially during the night. This then begins the entry road into the mission. Some of you have already seen this. Our fence line on the left is a game fencing, and we are continuing with another 4 kilometers on the north side of the boundary of the mission. And then we come up to our training center area. First thing on the right is the Ladies Craft Center, and they're very busy. And then on the left-hand side, here is our training center accommodation units, and this is where we'll look first. As one can see, this is the first accommodation unit, which was built and funded, or I should say funded by Prairie Bible College and their Global Connections Missions Conference. Then we have the foundations there, beginning of a 3rd unit, or I should say a 4th unit. And right here is the 2nd unit that's just under completion still. Once again, this is the 2nd unit that we completed. It just lacks paint, ceiling, and also tile on the floor, and it's ready to go. We've already used it. That was financed by Pastor Glenn and Lois Forsberg via generous donation. Then we have the 3rd unit going up there, and as we mentioned, the 4th unit opposite it. We'll just pan so you can get an idea. And there's the foundation of the 4th unit. This gives an idea of what it's like inside each of the units. They have a place for 2 beds. We are planning to have a little cupboard and hanging area, as well as a small desk for the 2 students. Small veranda area of 2.5 meters, which allows for a place to sit and fellowship and just relax at the end of a long day, or even study. After this little village of 6 houses is built, our plan is for another 3 villages of 6 houses each, which will give us a total capacity of around 90 leaders to be able to come and study at one time. So this is the area that's being cleared for the 2nd and the 3rd one. We also plan for a eating facility and actual formal kitchen, since the kitchen is rather bush at this point in time. This is the water tower that's supplied by our solar pump, which is further down. We have just purchased a 10,000 liter tank that's going to be mounted, Lord willing and everything going well, on top of that, to provide better storage of water for our training times. Water has been a real challenge. As mentioned, this is the craft center. Women working very hard on crafts for the literacy program. A bathroom unit for the training facility. And then we're coming up to the main training center area here with our still very makeshift open-air kitchen and a grass thatched, not even thatched, grass-covered eating area that we've been using to this point. This is still the only shower facility that we have for the leaders when they come. There are actually 4 shower units behind the grass.
right?
Okay, this is just a walk from the bathroom units. You can see the foundation on the side here that's being dug for a sidewalk. And this is going to be the entryway area that we're just working on right now. We need to build a retainer wall, retainer walls on both sides of the entryway. We've just poured this slab just recently, but we need to have retainer walls on either side to just enable good water drainage during the rainy season. And then this would be the entryway. So right now there's a lot of soil laying around, but this is a work in progress. And this is the entryway to the training center itself. This is our administrative block, where you see Manuel is actually working away on some handcraft stuff. And then this is the basic training center area itself. We have space for 6 classrooms and an administrative room, a record store, a bookshop, which is here on the right-hand side, and then we have our conference room, if you would, here. And so the conference room is just a little bit of a bigger room. It'll allow us to house, or at least probably hold around 80 to 100 people in tight conditions. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how much you can see in there, but the courtyard area here, with the gazebo at the end, of course, which is just still being finished as well, provides an opportunity or a location for us to do a lot of fellowship times. We actually hold classes under there as well as a chance just for the leaders to be able to read and study when they're here. The courtyard area, which you can see is a fairly nice big area, we're hoping and praying at some point in time, in fact we need it sooner than later, and that is to be able to get a tent cover that we can put up for bigger events. In fact, one of those big events is happening again when we have graduation in November, and there will be literally hundreds of people here, and of course it gets pretty hot in the African sun. I'll walk you into the gazebo area, and you can see the view from the gazebo area, and you may not be able to pick it out on the video, but we have a beautiful view of Monthumbe, which is a granite outcrop. It's just pretty much solid rock, and we use the theme built on the rock, and specifically Christ, of course, in His Word. As one can see, the classrooms are beautiful. One of the things that's lacking, of course, is tables and chairs, or adequate tables and chairs. So those are one of the things that we're also fundraising for through the unique Christmas gifts this year. So as we depart the training center area, we turn left from the main entry road, or on the main entry road, and this takes us down to the maintenance shops, the wood shop, and the accommodations, as well as our generating facilities and our water supply, our main water supply for the mission. Part of our commitment to the government when we were allocated this land was that we would continue with some planting of trees, specifically eucalyptus trees, and this is sort of a part of the commitment follow through here. You can see it not only is an investment for the mission for the future, but it's also a model for the local farmers who we are promoting the planting of eucalyptus, which is a renewable resource, of course. Total distance from the entry road to the accommodation units and the central part of the mission is about 1.5 kilometers. Although there's still some greenery, one can tell that it's starting to dry out. We're getting ready for the fire season, which has actually already started. A fair amount of haze in the air. This is our entry to the main part of the mission over an animal guard. Cattle guard, and to the left here is our maintenance workshop as one comes in. Maintenance facility. So we have a number of the supplies for our fencing piled up here. Fencing posts getting painted and cut to size, and the fencing that's been purchased. The maintenance workshops has been a huge blessing to the mission. We have, here's Prosper, and I don't know who is working with Prosper today.
My student.
Oh, one of your students,
Yeah,
okay. Okay, so one of the students is back from his training, so he's getting some practical experience here. They're just doing some work on our cattle trailer, which is used for hauling unique Christmas gifts. It's used for hauling the orphan packs. It's used for hauling the cattle. So yeah, after some hard time on the roads, a number of cables broke, so they're just replacing brake cables. So this is the actual inside of the maintenance workshop, a pit for oil changes, etc. And then right now it's also doubling, down here at least, it's doubling as a grain storage facility while we're drying and processing the corn, the maize that's being purchased in for our feeding programs before we store it in the actual storage rooms. And up there is a little office that's used for the mechanic shop. It's also a place where Prosper gives lessons to some of our mechanic students, kids that are sponsored and come here for mentoring and additional training. We then have a couple tool rooms. We have a tool room on that side, as well as a compressor room and storage facility on the other side. We have 2 grain storage facilities right now. This year we improved the ventilation by installing ventilators, they call them, on top to help keep the air moving. Alongside the second grain storage facility is our wood workshop. Right now our carpenters are busy on other jobs away from the carpentry shop, so it's closed. One can see that the lychee trees are in full bloom. We have seen the lychees bloom earlier this year than ever before. The mission has 3 hectares of lychees, and the agronomist expects that we could harvest as much as 19 tons of fruit this year. After departing the maintenance facility, we come past our campground here, campsite, which has a volleyball court, volleyball courts and bathrooms, an open-air kitchen, an open-air gazebo, which we use for meetings. On the left-hand side, here we have João's house, our Mozambican missionary's house, and we're just adding a veranda for when he meets with the students. We then have our first little cul-de-sac that comes off to the right, and I'll just come down this so that you can get an idea. Down the first little cul-de-sac we have our 2 one-bedroom cottages, so they have a bedroom, a kitchen, and this first place is Jeanette's place, where Jeanette Stone, our child sponsorship coordinator, stays. And then just beyond her is what we call Bush Baby. This is the second cottage. We've named each of the accommodation units based on the animals we have in our area. This second cottage is used for guests, and right now Shannon's staying here until we get her place fixed up. We're trying to just finish off a little garage or cover for the vehicle that Jeanette uses. And then coming back out of this cul-de-sac, we turn right down the main entry road again. On our left-hand side, we have our what they call a vivero or greenhouse. The greenhouse is where we start all of our vegetables for the feeding program. Then we have, this is our water and generator area. You can see the new 10,000 liter tank that's there waiting to be installed at the training center. And our generator facilities and our water tank that supplies water to the mission. In the generator room that you can see there, we have two generators, a 20 kVA as well as a 40 kVA. Beside it, we have our diesel tank, diesel storage, as well as some garages that we're preparing to house the backhoe and some of our implements. Behind this, you can see the remaining lychee orchard. The second cul-de-sac is where we find our house, or the mission house that Dwight and Lynn stay in. Storage facility to the left, and our mission house there. And then if we carry on down this little cul-de-sac, it is a dead end. We come across the second mission house. That was where Rick and Heather lived. Rick and Heather built, and where they lived, and right now it is being used for guest accommodations and awaiting the arrival of Josh and Chelsea McManus. And then we have the third accommodation, and the end of the cul-de-sac is what's called the Swiss Chalet. And this is where Andy Corrette, our Swiss missionary and pilot, lives. And he's just added to the facility, so he's got at least a little more living space, and he's really made it very pretty. From Andy's place, we just have to take a walk down the path, and we arrive at the Mukumbiz River, which is our water source. So this is where we do all of our pumping from to irrigate not only the lychees but also the gardens for the feeding program. This year we were able to install a new pump that can pump about 3 times the amount of water as our smaller pump did before, our smaller electric pump. Ideally, we want electricity, and then we can install a bigger electric motor on that pump. But you can see we have a natural rock reservoir in the river that we've improved to store a significant amount of water. We have water that's probably an average of 2 meters deep that goes up almost 600 meters or so. So it's a significant amount of water. Coming back out of the cul-de-sac from the 3 missionary accommodations, we get back on the main entry road here. On our left we have our 2 guards that are just patrolling, coming through the property. And thankfully we haven't had a lot of problems. Here on our left-hand side is our office, so we will just stop there briefly. And you can see the lychee orchard on the left-hand side. So this is our main office block, although each of us as missionaries has an office in our own homes as well. This is the main office block that is used by our administrative staff as well as our accounting staff. And so here we have a young man by the name of Ze, who is busy hard at work with the accounting. And then if we go in here, this is our other general administrative office, we find Pindurai, otherwise known as Paulo, working on training certificates. And then we have the rest of our staff here. We have Celestino, yes, and Pastor Mariano. Celestino is our general administrative person. Pastor Mariano, I'm going to just zoom in a little bit so you get to see them a bit better. And then Pastor Mariano takes care of our orphan program. He is our orphan coordinator. And then we have Simon, who's here working on a laptop. He's works with the child sponsorship program. And then we have beyond him, we have Graça, who's one of our is one of our health workers, and she's busy taking some IT training. Back on the main entry road, with the main office to our left that you just saw, we have our grain storage, or our agriculture storage, which is going to be replaced very soon, and our cement store. This is the runway or the road that goes to our cattle, as well as our runway. This is the third cul-de-sac, and on this cul-de-sac we have what's called Hornbill. This is the house that Ron and Barb Weiner built when they came and joined us prior to their retirement. It is currently being used for guest facilities when we have teams that come, and so and it's a beautiful facility. We have repaired the veranda and still need to tile it. We do have the tile for that, so we're hoping we can get that done at some point in time. And then the road continues, this little cul-de-sac continues down and around. And we come up to what's called Diker, which is a little antelope we have here. But Diker House is the house that Shannon will be living in, and so we're currently just working on it. We've been able to do a few improvements in light of Shannon's arrival. The one is a staircase up to her donkey where she makes her fire so that she can get up there easy, and the other is this little staircase here going up into the house, which is certainly going to make it a lot easier for her to get in. And it looks a little bit like a mess, but that's because we're doing a complete paint job on the place. We have installed cornice just on the ceilings, have redone the ceilings because they were falling, and are busy painting. This is a 3-bedroom house. This will be an office that goes onto the veranda. There's of course a bathroom, a guest bedroom, and then the main living area, kitchen, pantry, as well as the bedroom. And this is where we will find Vasco, who's busy working hard painting. And so the bedroom has a little ensuite bathroom as well. Back on the entry road, or the main entry road again, although now we're continuing. through the property. We come to our second cattle gate, and this is just to keep the cattle and the animals away from the main mission housing as well as the gardens. This is where we are busy with the construction of new holding facilities for the cattle and the sheep, and this will enable us to better care for the animals as well as to ensure that they have fresh water readily available, or easily and readily available. So we've got cattle pens. You can see the bales of hay that we've cut and prepared, and then here we have the sheep barn that we're busy building, and this will be this will be for the female sheep on the one side with the little ones, as well as the males on the other side. Back on our entry road again. We are 600 meters now from our runway and hangar, which is very hard to express the blessing and benefit that is to us as a mission in our ability to reach much, much further. In order to access the runway, we had to build a bridge across a small river that runs through the mission property. And you can see some of our sheep on the road here. Whoops. Here we come to a crossover of the road that goes straight through the center of the mission property to the back boundary, to the eastern boundary, from the highway, which is in the west. And then we arrive at our runway. This is the clear way at the end of the runway. And then we have the actual runway itself. There's the threshold markings. And the actual runway itself, along with our hangar that's here. As I conclude this video, there's no way to really put in words the incredible blessing in equipment and infrastructure, facilities, housing that God has provided through all of our generous supporters throughout the years, that's enabling us to literally reach thousands of people with the gospel of Jesus Christ, and to really make a difference in the futures of thousands of children. Thank you for your participation.